Silence is strategy, not weakness. In a world where everyone wants to shout to be heard, the people who choose to stay silent are the ones who are most worth listening to. We live in an age of snap comments, instant reactions, where every word can be garbled, twisted, and weaponized at the click of a mouse. And then, when someone misunderstands you, makes up a story about you, or deliberately provokes you, the first reaction is often to want to explain, to clarify, to scream, "That's not me." But the more you try to justify yourself, the more you come across as weak, as if you're trying to prove something that doesn't need to be proven. What they really want isn't the truth, it's a reaction. They want to see you angry, to see you lose control, to pull you into their game. And if you go into it, you're no longer yourself. You're just a pawn in their game plan. But you have another option. Silent. Not because you're afraid, but because you understand that not every fight is worth fighting. In silence, you keep your peace. You keep your control. And that's something they can never control. Silence is not surrender. Silence is when you stand in the middle of the storm and still don't let the wind blow you away. It is the most powerful statement you can make without saying a word. When being slandered, let time and truth speak. There's a paradox that anyone who has been gossiped about understands. The more you try to explain, the more suspicious people look at you. They don't listen to understand. They listen to conclude. And when facts become secondary and emotions and drama take over, every excuse only makes you look more guilty. The sad thing is, the rumor monger does not seek the truth. They are looking for only one thing, your reaction. They want you to get angry, want you to rush to defend yourself, want you to lose your temper, and then turn that confusion into evidence against you. But you don't have to play that game. You can choose to do something harder but more powerful. Keep quiet, move on, and let time do the rest. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it's not right, don't say it. If it's not right, don't do it. And you don't have to prove anything if you live up to what's right." I remember a story. There was a man named James who was falsely accused by his co-workers in front of his manager. Anyone would want to defend himself, but James chose to remain silent. He continued to do his job well, kept his cool, and just a few weeks later, the truth came out. No need to argue, no need to fight back. Silence is not an evasion. It is a statement of character. When you believe in yourself, you don't need to prove anything. Let time, facts, and karma speak for you. When betrayed, silence is their denial of power. Betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from people you once trusted. And because of that, it doesn't just hurt. It makes you question everything. Your memories, your relationships, and yourself. Your first reaction is to question. Why? What did I do wrong? You want them to feel guilty. You want them to understand how much they hurt you. But let's face the harsh truth. The person who betrayed you either didn't realize it or worse, didn't care. And the more you try to find an explanation, the more you scratch your own wounds. They don't need excuses. They need your energy. They need to see you hurt, to see you angry, to see you lose control. Because that proves they still have influence over you. But you can refuse to give them that power. Choose silence. Not because you are weak, but because you understand. I want to tell you about Sarah. A woman who once had a friend who was closer than family. They shared everything for over a decade, until one day Sarah discovered that her friend had betrayed her, revealed her secrets, put her down behind her back. She had every reason to confront her, to vent her anger, but she didn't. Sarah just withdrew. No words, no noise, just absence. And you know what haunts a traitor even more than anger? It's silent, because silence does more than cut off sound. It cut off access to your soul. What is the message? 1. Don't try to cling to their old image. That person is gone. 2. Don't waste your breath on someone who wrote your worth in pencil. 3. Leave quietly, because silence forces them to face what they fear most, myself. When offended, maintain your silence. When someone insults you with a sneer, a look of disdain, or a seemingly harmless but hurtful remark, your first instinct is to fight back. You want to strike back. You want a clever counterattack that will shut them up. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, is that really a victory? The truth is, offenders are not looking for truth. They are looking for a reaction. They want to drag you into a mud pit, into a war they're familiar with, and you're not. And if you respond either with logic or anger, you've entered their battlefield, and then you are no longer in control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. A wise man does not argue, a strong man does not shout." Davidus, a case in point, he had just received a well-deserved promotion when, in the middle of a celebration party, a colleague sarcastically said, "I guess everyone can get promoted now, right?" The whole room was silent. Everyone waited for a reaction, but David just smiled. No words, no defense, no grudge. And in that moment, he not only won the attack, he owned the room. How to handle insults. 1. Realize their purpose is to upset you. Don't give that away. 2. Let your composure be the answer. The unwavering expression was stronger than any excuse. 3. Hold your frame. Self-respect never needs explaining, because in the end, the strong person is not the one who shouts the loudest in the room, but the one who cannot be moved even when all the words are aimed at him. When you meet someone who plays the victim, don't play their game. Not everyone who cries is hurt, and not everyone who complains is a real victim. One of the most subtle types of people is a person who specializes in playing the victim to manipulate other people's emotions. They don't solve problems. They tell stories. They twist the truth, paint a story that makes them look weak and you look evil. At first you'll be confused, then you'll be angry, and finally, exhausted. Because you use reason, they use emotion. You speak with truth, they cry with hurt. And crowds are always more convinced by tears than by evidence. Epictetus mentioned, complaining never solves anything, and it is never appropriate. And you will realize the person pretending to be the victim, they don't want solutions. They want audiences. If you try to justify, you are not clarifying the truth. You are just give their performance more context. Reckless, a typical example. She had a coworker who constantly blamed and acted out the misunderstood scene. No matter how much evidence Rachel had, how many times she explained, she was still the hurt person. In the end, Rachel chose the only way they could not control, silent. And gradually the truth emerged. People around began to recognize the common denominator. There's always a new enemy, a new tragic story, but it's the same person telling it. And when you don't continue to respond, their stage falls apart. What to do when faced with this type of person? 1. Don't make excuses, because they are not listening, they are acting. 2. Detach yourself emotionally, observe but don't get caught up. 3. Trust the cycle. The truth has a path, and masks cannot be worn forever. Ultimately, you don't need to win that argument, just don't step on the stage they've set. And your silence is the most powerful curtain call. When your value is undervalued, don't try to prove it, just disappear. You don't always get hurt by what other people do. Sometimes you get hurt by what they do not do, not caring, not paying attention, not responding, no longer seeing you as special. They don't leave you with an obvious betrayal, but with gradual silence, with the sen, with the distance growing larger each time you take the initiative. And ironically, the more you try to show your presence, the more invisible you become. Because there is one rule that never fails. People rarely appreciate what they already have. You don't need to shout, "I am valuable." You just need to withdraw. I remember Jake, the kind of friend everyone wants, always proactive in asking, always remembering birthdays, always showing up at the right time. But gradually Jake realized, if you don't text first, no one will text back. If he didn't take the initiative, the connection would disappear. And so one day he stopped. No arguments, no blame, just gone. The result? Those who really care seek him out. Those who just see him as convenient stay silent. What should you do when you are being overlooked? First, stop running after. If they don't see you by your presence, let them see you by your absence. 2. Don't say anything. Silence creates awareness. It gives the other person a chance to look back. 3. Observe who will take the initiative. Genuine people don't need reminding. They will find you. The truth is, value is not proven by effort, but by distance. The one who deserves you will feel your silence. The one who doesn't deserve you never really had you. When constantly provoked, silence is the master's armor. There are people who don't want peace. They don't want dialogue. They don't want understanding. They just want excite. They say things they know will hurt you, not because they are brave, but because they have no other way to feel powerful. And if you fall into that trap, if you get angry, react, argue back, you not only lose your temper, you have lost your position because now you are no longer the master. You have let them control your emotions, your mind, and your behavior. They have pulled you into their game, and you have played by their rules, but you have another choice, a power the provocateur will never understand. Calmness, Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You are the master of your own mind, not the world. Realize that, and you will find true power." I remember Adam, a calm person, but a constant target of a sarcastic colleague. Every meeting, a sarcasm. Every conversation, a subtle trap. At first, Adam reacted, explained, tensed. Each time he walked out of the room exhausted, until one day he chose a different path. When provoked, he just looked at that person, smiled slightly, nodded, and say nothing, no angry looks, no head shakes, no sighs. Just a nonchalance that left the other person confused. And then the person stopped. Because even the most poisonous fire cannot burn without fuel. What to do when constantly provoked? 1. Identify the trick. When they repeat a behavior, it's no longer personality, it's strategy. 2. Keep your frame. No one is worth making you lose yourself. 3. Turn calm into a weapon. The more they remain unmoved, the more they lose control. Final. The strongest person in the room is not the one who speaks the loudest. It is the one who no one can shake. And his silence was not empty. It was an all-powerful armor. When others regret, silence is the final answer. There comes a time after they have ignored you, left you behind, forgotten you, when they suddenly turn around and realize you're gone. No more messages from you. No more familiar presence. No more warmth they once took for granted. And then the silence they had once ignored suddenly became the loudest sound in the empty room. Regret is too late, but more regrettable, many people only see your worth when you are no longer there. And if you go back just because they finally figured it out, you're not healing, you're reopening old wounds. Epictetus once said, "No one is truly free unless he is master of himself." And that mastery begins with, don't go back to the place that hurt you just because they now appreciate you. I want to tell you about Olivia. She had poured her heart and soul into a relationship. She had given time, love, and listening. But the other person had gradually become indifferent. One day Olivia left. No tears, no arguments, just a peaceful withdrawal. At first he didn't care. Then came weeks of silence, unanswered calls, unreturned texts, and when he realized what was lost, Olivia healed in silence. And it was that silence is her freedom. So what should you do when they regret it? 1. Don't open the door again just because they knock. If your value has been taken for granted, the absence must be felt fully. 2. Don't explain. Let them sit with the consequences. No sorry way out. 3. Maintain your silence, not out of hatred, but out of self-respect. Because one day they will realize they lost more than just one person. They lost a light, a presence, something irreplaceable. And you don't have to go back for them to learn that lesson. Your silence teaches them what words cannot. Silence is the loudest statement. You don't always stay silent because you have nothing to say. Sometimes you stay silent because you needless to say, in a world where everyone is competing to speak up, everyone wants to react, wants to be understood correctly, then silence is the choice of those who understand themselves deeply enough. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to explain to be acknowledged. And you don't need to react to prove you're strong. When you choose silence, you take back control. You step out of the game that others are trying to drag you into. And you let time, truth, and karma do the rest. The Stoic man does not run after approval. He does not need the approval of others to feel right. He steps back and lets the universe balances itself. So the next time someone slanders you, betrays you, insults you, provokes you, or comes back with a belated apology, don't react so quickly. Don't talk. Don't act. Just watch and wait. Because silence, when held at the right time, is wisdom. If this message awakens something in you, if you feel it touches a part of your life that you are going through, don't keep it to yourself. Silence is the loudest statement. You don't always stay silent because you have nothing to say. Sometimes you stay silent because you needless to say, in a world where everyone is competing to speak up, everyone wants to react, wants to be understood correctly, then silence is the choice of those who understand themselves deeply enough. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to explain to be acknowledged. And you don't need to react to prove you're strong. When you choose silence, you take back control. You step out of the game that others are trying to drag you into. And you let time, truth, and karma do the rest. The Stoic man does not run after approval. He does not need the approval of others to feel right. He steps back and lets the universe balances itself. So the next time someone slanders you, betrays you, insults you, provokes you, or comes back with a belated regret, don't react so quickly. Don't talk. Don't act. Just watch and wait. Because silence, when held at the right time, is wisdom. If this message awakens something in you, if you feel it touches a part of your life that you are going through, don't keep it to yourself. Please subscribe to the channel Daily Stoic Light, where strength is silence, where wisdom is sharp, and every word is chosen like a sword of wisdom. And if you know someone who is struggling in silence, please send them this video not to explain, but to remind them that silence is not weakness. It is the sign of a man who has learned to stand firm without anyone by your side, where strength is silence, where wisdom is sharp, and every word is chosen like a sword of wisdom. And if you know someone who is struggling in silence, please send them this video not to explain, but to remind them that silence is not weakness. It is the sign of a man who has learned to stand firm without anyone by your side.